Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, IELTS Vocabulary Listening Practice topic name is 25 plus IELTS Vocabulary Essential Words, Part 08. Okay, let's unpack this fantastic stack of source material you've sent us.
Absolutely. Looks like a really solid list. A focused linguistic toolkit, you could say.
Yeah, it's not just random words, is it? It feels curated, definitely aimed at people wanting to level up their communication, especially for complex stuff.
That's right. Academic topics, formal discussions, that kind of thing.
So our mission today, really, is to get under the hood of these 27 plus words, not just definitions. We want to figure out when you'd use them and why that specific word is the best choice.
Exactly. Moving beyond just knowing the word to actually using it accurately with nuance, making them feel less like a list and more like, well, tools you can actually use.
Intuitive tools, yeah.
And the strength here, I think, is the context. We have meanings, synonyms, but those three examples for each word. That's the gold.
Seeing them in action.
That's how you bridge the gap, from recognition to real application. That's what we need to focus on.
Okay, let's dive in then. Where should we start? Maybe with one that describes people. Something intriguing. How about eccentric?
Ah, good one.
It goes beyond just weird or strange, doesn't it? What makes someone truly eccentric? And why does that distinction even matter?
Well, fundamentally, eccentric means deviating from the norm, from what's considered conventional.
Right. In behavior, maybe appearance.
Or even thought patterns. But the key nuance, I think, is that eccentricity often suggests sort of harmless unconventionality, maybe even charming.
Not malicious.
No, not usually. It's often seen as more of a choice, someone operating outside the usual way of thinking, but not in a threatening way.
The examples kind of show that, don't they? Like the eccentric inventor with all the weird gadgets.
Exactly. His habits might seem odd, sure, but they're tied to his creativity.
Or the eccentric fashion sense. It stands out because it's unique. It refuses to follow trends.
And this ties into something quite profound, actually, that the material hints at. Eccentric personalities often drive innovation.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, think about it. If you're truly eccentric, you're operating outside the usual constraints, the normal ways of thinking.
You're not following the established path.
Precisely. So you're more likely to stumble upon completely new ideas, new ways of doing things, whether that's in art or science. It takes a willingness to risk failure, maybe even social awkwardness.
So using eccentric instead of just strange shows you understand that subtle potential power behind it.
I think so, yeah. It's a word with positive nuance, potentially, not just a simple judgment. It signals a deeper understanding.
That's a really compelling way to look at it. Okay, let's shift gears completely. Opposite end of the emotional spectrum, maybe? Morose.
Ah, yes. Morose. That's a heavy one.
It feels much deeper than just being sad for a bit.
It absolutely is. Morose implies a specific kind of persistent sadness. Sullen, ill-tempered, really gloomy.
Like a dark cloud hanging over someone.
Exactly. It's an internalized bad mood, often resistant to cheering up. It affects how someone interacts or doesn't interact.
The examples show that becoming morose and withdrawn after a loss, that turning inward.
That's characteristic, the persistent gloom, the lack of engagement.
You know what I found powerful? Using morose to describe an environment. Like the example, the morose weather matched her somber thoughts.
Oh, that's a great point. Yes, it allows you to set a whole atmosphere metaphorically.
Like in classic novels, where the bleak weather reflects the character's internal state. You could use morose for that. Adds real depth to descriptive writing.
Absolutely. And there's a practical side too, isn't there? The material mentions avoiding morose behavior in social settings.
Right, to build connections.
Because that sullenness, that withdrawn nature inherent in being morose, it acts like a barrier. It signals don't approach, basically, which isn't great for relationships, personal or professional.
Makes sense. Okay, stark contrast time. Let's look at satisfied. Seems simple, but there's a twist, isn't there? That dual meaning.
Yes, this is crucial for using it accurately at a higher level. It can mean contented, pleased.
Like the customer was satisfied with the service, happy with it.
Right. Emotional or practical fulfillment. But it also means persuaded or convinced.
Ah, okay. Like, yeah. I'm satisfied that the plan will work.
Exactly. That's about logical assurance. You're convinced based on evidence or argument. It's an intellectual state, not just an emotional one.
So is there ever a risk of confusion? Like if you said a jury was satisfied with the evidence, does content work better sometimes?
That's a good question. In formal contexts, like legal findings, using satisfied to mean convinced is actually pretty standard.
Okay.
But the context has to make it clear you mean convinced by the evidence, not just generally happy about it. If you just mean a general feeling of well-being, yeah, content might be clearer.
So satisfied is the power word because it covers both, emotional and logical.
Depending on context, yes. If you're satisfied with something, it's often contentment. If you're satisfied that something is true, you're convinced. It's subtle, but important.
Got it. Okay, let's look inward now. It drives, not just states. Instinct.
Instinct. That innate fixed pattern of behavior. Or intuition. The unlearned stuff.
Right, the stuff we're born with.
This word really captures those fundamental raw drives. The examples map it out nicely.
Yeah, like survival instinct. That primal reaction in a crisis. No thinking involved.
Pure natural response. Then there's the inner guidance aspect, like trust your instincts, that gut feeling.
Which is really subconscious processing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Accumulated experience.
Sort of, yeah. And the third one is pure biology. Animals relying on instinct for migration, feeding, things like that, inborn behavior.
So it's the opposite of learning or rational thought, just impulse.
Pretty much. The immediate, unexamined response.
Okay, connecting that idea of impulse or effort to, well, maybe the lack of results. Let's tackle vain.
Yes, vain. All about effort leading nowhere.
Meaning useless, no real value or success.
Futile. Exactly. Futility is the core idea. The examples really drive it home. Their efforts were in vain because the deal failed. Zero return.
All that work for nothing.
Or searching was vain without clues. Just a pointless action because there's no basis for it.
We should pause on that idea of futility. It's more than just failure, isn't it? Using vain suggests the meaninglessness of the effort itself.
That's a very sharp observation.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not just it didn't work, it's almost it couldn't have worked, or it was inherently pointless.
And that advice, avoid vain pursuits that waste time, kind of elevates it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's about being strategic, evaluating effort.
Absolutely. It turns the word from just a descriptor into a kind of critical judgment about efficiency and purpose.
Right, let's pivot now, moving away from the individual, more towards systems, politics, economics. This is where the vocabulary gets really crucial for essays, debates.
Definitely. High-stakes language. Where shall we start?
How about illiberal? Defined as opposing liberal principles, restricting freedom, intolerant. Sounds complex.
It is, and needs careful handling. When we talk about illiberal policies, like the source mentions, we're talking about government actions.
Restrictions on freedom.
Yeah, things like limiting free speech, assembly, the press. It's about the structure of governance being restrictive of certain freedoms, often associated with classical liberalism.
But it's not just governments, is it? The examples also mention illiberal views held by individuals.
That's right. His illiberal views alienated friends. That refers to intolerant opinions, a refusal to engage with different ideas.
So it's important not to just equate illiberal with, say, conservative, right? It's specifically about rejecting openness and freedom of thought.
Generally, yes. It denotes a rejection of those core liberal principles of tolerance and open discourse, regardless of where someone falls on a traditional left-right spectrum.
And the source gives that warning, doesn't it? Avoid illiberal attitudes in diverse societies.
Which underscores the point. Even if the state isn't restrictive, an attitude of intolerance itself shuts down dialogue and harms social cohesion. So it's a powerful term for social critique, too.
Okay. Moving towards economics now. The term to denationalize.
Privatization, essentially.
Transferring ownership from the public sector, the state, to private hands.
Yeah. For a sophisticated discussion, you need to understand the mechanics and the arguments around it. The example is concrete. Government planning to denationalize the railway system.
Which usually means selling off state assets.
Right. Often framed as a way to increase competition and efficiency.
And the material does a good job of showing both sides, which is important for academic balance. It mentions that denationalizing industries can boost efficiency. That's the standard free market argument.
Better services, lower costs through competition, that's the theory.
But then it immediately gives the counterpoint. Critics oppose efforts to denationalize healthcare.
And this highlights the controversy. Groups like unions, consumer advocates, they often argue that essential services, healthcare, railways, utilities should prioritize public good, access, safety over pure profit.
So using denationalized signals, you're aware of this whole debate, not just the action itself.
Exactly. It taps into a major economic and political discussion.
Okay, here's a strong verb. To overhaul. Seems like it has a double meaning.
It does. The source mentions one meaning as to overtake or pass, like in sailing or racing.
Right.
But the one that's really valuable for academic use is the other meaning, to thoroughly examine and repair or reform.
It sounds quite major.
It is. It signals a really deep systemic revision, not just tweaking things.
You could use it physically, like an old engine needing an overhaul, a complete strip down and rebuild.
Sure. But the power for talking about policy or systems is huge. Policies were overhauled to improve efficiency. That means comprehensive ground-up changes.
Not just minor adjustments.
No. Think budget systems, curricula, bureaucratic processes. If you want to describe radical, deep reform, overhaul is the word. It implies recognizing serious flaws and taking significant action.
That weight is important, which leads nicely into to conform, complying with rules or standards. If you overhaul a system, people need to conform to the new one.
Precisely. And the examples show this word works for both sides of compliance. Well, on one hand, products must conform to safety regulations. That's necessary adherence, non-negotiable for the public good.
Right. You have to follow the rules.
But then, on the other hand, you have the personal or cultural level. She refused to conform to societal norms.
Ah, so it also covers resistance.
Exactly. It opens up discussions about individualism, groupthink, cultural pressure. The word is useful because it captures both the need for alignment and the choice to resist it.
And when those alignments clash or views differ strongly, we get conflict.
Serious disagreement, clash, strife, yeah.
The source makes a useful distinction in scale here.
It does. You have external conflict, like conflict between teams escalated, that's observable opposition, maybe over resources or goals.
Out in the open.
Right, but then there's the more subtle internal conflict that affected his decision-making.
The struggle within. Personal tension, competing desires.
Yes, and being able to distinguish between external and internal conflict is key for any kind of sophisticated analysis, whether it's literature or psychology or politics.
And the material links it back to a positive goal. Resolve conflicts through dialogue.
Which is crucial. It turns the description of the problem into a direction for management or diplomacy. Don't just identify conflict, aim to resolve it constructively.
Okay, this next section feels really central to academic work. Summarizing, debating, interacting. Let's start with two words that seem very similar, almost synonyms. Abstract and precise.
Ah, yes. A common point of confusion. They both involve condensing information, absolutely.
But they're not quite the same.
Not exactly, especially in academic contexts. A precise is generally understood to be a very concise summary that really tries to maintain the structure, the tone, the logical flow of the original text.
Like a miniature version.
Pretty much. It's often used as an exercise to show you've perfectly understood and can compress the core arguments accurately in the original order, capturing the essence in minimal words.
Okay, so what about abstract?
The abstract is, well, maybe a bit more flexible and serves a very practical function, especially in research. It's a summary of a book, article, speech. But its main job is often to help someone quickly assess if the full document is relevant.
Like reading the blurb on a book.
Kind of, but more structured for research. You read the abstract of a paper to get the key findings, the methodology, the main point, fast, to decide, should I read this whole thing?
And that's why conferences require abstract submission. It's the quick pitch.
Exactly. It focuses on the core message and results, maybe less on perfectly mirroring the original stylistic flow like a précis aims to.
So précis is about demonstrating deep comprehension and compression skill, while abstract is more about utility and quick assessment.
That's a good way to put it. Both summarize, but with slightly different goals and constraints.
Okay, that clarifies things. Now, once we have our summary, how do we share it? Let's look at to convey, another word with a dual meaning.
Yes, to communicate or express ideas, feelings, but also simply to transport things.
The transport meaning is straightforward. The bus conveys passengers, moving physical things.
Right, literal carrying. But the linguistic power lies in the other meaning, communication, expression.
Trying to convey your true feelings.
Yeah.
Or art conveying emotions. It implies successful transmission, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests that the message or the feeling or even the physical object has actually reached its intended recipient or destination. The transfer was successful.
Okay. But what if that transmission isn't received well? Or if the recipient has a different idea, then we disagree.
To have or express a different opinion. Yes, the cornerstone of critical thinking and debate.
The example about experts disagreeing on the causes of climate change impacts is good. It frames it professionally.
Absolutely. It's not necessarily a fight. It's an intellectual difference based on interpretation or data expected in academic and scientific fields.
And the advice that comes with it is crucial. If you disagree, voice your concerns politely.
So important. In any high-stakes setting, a meeting, a committee, an academic discussion, how you disagree matters just as much as why. Politeness keeps the conversation going. Rudeness shuts it down.
Good point. And the next step in that conversation is often to respond.
To reply, answer, or react. A really versatile verb covering interaction.
The examples show that range. Please respond to the email that's direct communication.
Standard reply. Then she responded positively to the suggestion that's more of an emotional or attitudinal reaction.
And emergency services respond quickly. That's about taking action, the speed of reaction.
Right, so it covers planned communication, gut reactions, and practical intervention. Very useful.
Okay, last one in this section, to admit. Another one with that important duality.
Yes. To confess or acknowledge something, often something difficult or wrong, and also simply to allow entry.
The confession part seems key for integrity. He had to admit his mistake.
Exactly. And the source connects this directly to trust. Admit when you're wrong to build trust. That's powerful advice, acknowledging fallibility.
And the other meaning, allowing entry.
Purely logistical. The hospital will admit patients, letting someone or something cross a boundary, physically enter a space.
So even though the contexts are totally different, admitting a mistake versus admitting a patient, the core idea is allowing something in.
I think that's a neat way to see the underlying connection. Allowing in an unwelcome truth or allowing in a person needing care.
All right, moving on. Let's get into words about quantity, limits, physical resilience. Starting with consecutive.
Meaning following one after another without any interruption. Unbroken sequence.
It's very precise, isn't it? The sports example is clear. Winning 3 consecutive championships. No gaps, no losses in between those wins.
Exactly. It signals that continuity very clearly.
And in a work context, it adds weight. Working 5 consecutive days emphasizes the nonstop effort.
Or, on the negative side, talking about consecutive errors in a report. That tells you it wasn't just one slip-up. It was a pattern happening repeatedly without a break. Much more serious.
Yeah, it signals a trend, not an isolated event.
No.
Okay, what about when things become too much? Insupportable.
Unable to be endured or justified. Intolerable. It's a strong word. An intensifier.
It seems to apply in different ways, physically.
Yes. The pain became insupportable, meaning it went beyond the person's ability to cope, requiring urgent action, extreme discomfort.
And socially or behaviorally.
His insupportable behavior led to dismissal. His actions were unacceptable, couldn't be tolerated within that context. Indefensible actions.
And then there's the academic use, which seems very important. The theory was insupportable without evidence.
Right. This means the idea itself cannot be justified logically or empirically. It lacks backing. It's indefensible as a concept, a great high-level term for critique.
So to counter those insupportable forces, we need to withstand.
To resist or endure successfully, resilience in action.
We see it in engineering, right?
Yeah.
The bridge built to withstand strong earthquakes, designed resistance.
Perfect example of engineered endurance against extreme physical force.
But it works for people too. She withstood the criticism and continued her work.
Yes. That's psychological or professional endurance. Resisting pressure, not breaking, continuing despite opposition. It captures durability, whether physical or emotional.
Speaking of powerful forces, the list includes twister.
A tornado or whirlwind. A more colloquial, perhaps, but very vivid term.
Definitely vivid. The examples paint a picture. Twister destroyed homes. Survivors recalled the twister's fury. It feels immediate, dangerous.
It does. While tornado is the formal term, twister often carries that visceral sense of speed and destruction. Good for descriptive impact.
Okay, let's shift slightly towards management, efficiency, to minimize.
Reduce to the smallest degree, but also importantly, to downplay something.
Another one of those dualities. So the positive sense is like minimize risks by following safety protocols, reducing actual danger.
Yes, that's objective reduction, a necessary practical goal.
But the other sense, trying to minimize the issue in a meeting, that sounds different.
It is. That's about downplaying importance or scope. It can sometimes suggest a deliberate attempt to make something seem less significant than it is, maybe for political reasons.
Reducing its perceived importance, not the actual risk.
Precisely. A subtle but critical difference in professional communication.
And lastly in this section, very practical term, invoice.
Simple enough. A bill. A list of goods or services provided with the amount due.
Fundamental business stuff. Company sends an invoice, check the invoice before paying. Freelancers issue invoices.
It's the formal language of transaction, clear, necessary for commerce.
Okay, nearly there. We have a few more really useful words for description and flow. Let's look at attractive.
Pleasing or appealing,
Yeah.
but again, there's a bit more to it.
How so?
Well, it can be simple visual appeal and attractive design looks good,
Right.
but it can also be about overall desirability. A job offer being attractive because of the salary and benefits. It's not just about looks, it's about inherent value or appeal.
So it entices interest, motivates action.
Exactly. And the example about attractive packaging boosting sales sums that up nicely. The appeal leads to a desired outcome.
Okay. Next, dry. Literal meaning is obvious. No moisture. Arid.
Like a dry desert or dry skin, textbook physical state.
But the figurative use is interesting. Dry humor.
Yes, that witty, understated style, delivered without much emotion, often requires the audience to be sharp to catch the joke.
It's the delivery that's dry, not necessarily the content.
That's a good way to think about it. The lack of expressive wetness, if you like.
Interesting analogy. Okay, to float. Rest on a surface. Drift.
Again, physical and metaphorical. Leaves float on the river, literal.
Easy enough. And the metaphorical.
Ideas float around during brainstorming. This is great for discussions. It suggests concepts are being introduced tentatively, explored, but not yet fixed or finalized.
Like testing the waters.
Exactly. A state of potential, not decision.
And finally, a word we probably use all the time without thinking too much about its function. Anyway.
Meaning, in any case, nevertheless, besides, the ultimate transition word.
It really is versatile. It can pivot the conversation. Anyway, let's move on.
Smoothly changing the subject. Or it can signal persistence, despite obstacles. It was raining, but we went anyway, dismissing a minor issue.
So it acknowledges what came before, but then deliberately steers things in a new direction.
That's its main job in discourse, yeah. A very handy little word for managing flow. Hashtag synthesis and conclusion.
You know, going through these, it really feels like we've been upgrading a toolkit. Mastering words like these and understanding the nuances, like the difference between an abstract and a précis. That's what makes communication sophisticated, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the difference between saying something was, unbearable and saying it became insupportable, or noting consecutive errors instead of just many errors. It's about precision.
Accuracy and efficiency, like you said earlier.
Yeah. We've gone from the complexities of personality, eccentric, morose, through big societal ideas, denationalize, illiberal, right down to the nuts and bolts of communication, précis, convey. It's been a focused dive into really high-value language.
So for you listening, the real challenge isn't just memorizing these, it's applying them. Like we saw with overhaul, it can be an engine or a whole policy. Using them right takes practice.
Definitely. You need to get a feel for them in different contexts.
Maybe pick one word from today that deals with effort or resistance, perhaps vain or withstand,
Good idea.
and try to use it in a sentence today that has nothing to do with studying or exams. Describe something mundane.
Like your vain attempts to assemble that flat pack furniture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or talk about how your old coffee mug has withstood years of use. Make it real.
That's how they stop being just vocabulary and become part of your active language, when they feel natural, intuitive.
Well, this has been a fantastic exploration. We really appreciate you diving deep with us into this essential vocabulary. If you found this exploration into vocabulary helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We appreciate you diving deep with us, and we'll catch you next time.